So today's question is coming from some very good friends of mine, Monya and his wife Ashley. These two are adorable. But before we get into how cute of a couple they are, let's check out their question.
Hi Aaron, do you by any chance feel like you are less of a man because of your disability, or do you have any challenges in expressing how you feel towards women or vasikana vanongochida because of your disability?
Whew, Monya, wow, what a question. Let's get right into it. Do I feel any less of a man because of my disability? No, I don't. I know that this will probably come as a surprise to a lot of people. I know that there is a tendency to assume that people who have disabilities feel somewhat less human than others, but that has never been the case with me. I've always been a very competitive and confident person. I knew that I was capable like anybody else. I was very competitive in school, sports, extracurricular activities. I was really good at most of the stuff that I attempted doing. So I've always been a confident person. So I've never felt less of a human being. And because of that, I also don't feel any less of a man. I have grown to understand that people are different, and the only thing that makes me different, quotes on quotes, is the fact that I use a wheelchair. And apart from that, really, there isn't much difference between me and the next person. Being a man in a wheelchair doesn't make me any different from the next man. I feel like every other man does. I think like most men do, I am sure. I mean, if men have a certain way of thinking, yeah, I probably think that way too. I would like to think that I behave better than most. But yeah, still, I'm a guy through and through, like anybody else, like you, like my friend, like your neighbor. And your next question is, do I have any challenges expressing my feelings or interest to women because of my disability? No, not really. I don't think my disability keeps me from telling people that I like them. I I don't think there was ever anyone that I was interested in that I didn't tell because I was worried about my disability. Because guess what? The only way I can know if they like me or not is telling them and then get to hear what they have to say. If I see somebody that I like, if I see any girl that I like, I just talk to them and find out if they like me too. If they mind my disability, it's okay. If they don't like me as a person, my personality, that's okay as well. If they think my disability is a red flag, it's still okay because people are allowed to feel the way they feel. But one thing that I never do is stop myself from experiencing the fullness of life because I am worried about what people may think of my disability.
And Ashi here is two questions for you.
Hi Sunshine, how are you? So my first question is, we find out that when people start their basic education, even up to tertiary level, the government plays a very big role in their education system, right? They equip them education-wise. But do you think enough is being done when these people finish their tertiary level or whatever level of education that they would have reached? do you think that the government is helping these people to be able to sustain themselves? So that's my first question. And my second question is, if you've ever been called to a job interview, right? And do you think that your disability is the reason why they didn't recall you either for another interview or why you didn't get the job?
Wow, Ashley, that's a very, very good question. Do I feel like the government is doing enough in terms of helping people with disabilities to acquire education as well as become self-sustainable afterwards? Recently, I've seen some efforts from the government, I must say, to ensure that even children with disabilities are accommodated in schools. When I started going to school, it was a little bit of a different story, but in recent years, I've seen that there are some efforts being made in terms of accommodating students with disabilities, and of course, we applaud them for that. However, I also am of the opinion that they could do way better. They could do more than they are doing at the moment, because people with disabilities, or rather students with disabilities, are still quite marginalized, and there's still way too many of kids who have disabilities who are still not yet able to attend school due to various reasons, such as unsupportive infrastructure, barriers to entry, a lot of things that need to be adjusted. So no, I don't think enough is being done. Then in terms of being self-sustainable, that's a different monster altogether. Sometimes the fate of people with disabilities is, as much as you would have struggled to go through school, even when you are done with school, getting employed or gainfully employed is a major hassle, and it's something that a lot of people with disabilities miss out on, because our country, Zimbabwe, generally does not accommodate people with disabilities quite well. The infrastructure does not support us. The setup, the systems, they are not very supportive to persons with disabilities. So it's a mess, honestly. I also love your follow-up question. I think it's a very good question. You want to know if I feel like I have failed to get a job after an interview because of my disability, if it has ever happened to me. The answer will be yes and no. I will say no. Sometimes I haven't gotten the job simply because I wasn't qualified, or I didn't do well in the interview, or I wasn't what they were looking for. I can certainly admit to that. I mean, sometimes I just didn't get it because there was a more suitable candidate than I was for that particular position. But in some cases, in some instances, definitely yes, I failed to get a job because of my disability. And some companies will actually tell you like, no, we were very interested in employing you, but then our offices are like inaccessible to a wheelchair user, or stuff like that. I do remember a particular incident. I once got a job somewhere, but their offices were like on the second floor of a building that did not have any elevator or a lift. So there was absolutely no way for me to access their offices. The unfortunate part is not everyone is open to that kind of dialogue, or frank enough to say, look, we want to hire you, but we have questions and we have concerns. So sometimes people just end up saying no, or you just end up not getting called back, not necessarily because you have failed the interview, but because they just were not quite sure how to accommodate your disability within their workspace.